Everyone. Oh, I didn't realize there was a frog in my throat, but there was. He just hopped out. This is Martha Burgess Novak, and I'm so glad to talk with you today. We are going to talk about technology and its rightful place and proper place in conscious people's lives. So that's what our topic is today. Of course, we can go anywhere you take us. Our call-in number is 347-850-1647. Our advertisements said that Christina McCarthy was going to be with us today, and while she would love to be, bless her heart, she thinks she's coming down with a cold or flu. I hope that is not so. So I will be doing this on my own today, and you all can look forward to Christina another time. So why don't we do a quick prayer, get us all on the same page. Got lots of stories to tell you and things to talk about. As usual, I always recommend you have a pen and paper with you in case you want, although we won't have much of a list today. I'll give you about 2 or 3 things to make lists for, but they're very short. And I'm awfully glad you're joining us. So let's do our prayer. Dear God, who is all there is, you who are all we are, and all everything is in this world, we say thank you. We are grateful today to be exactly where we are, to have exactly what we have, for this is the starting point of so much more. We open our lives, our hearts, our minds now to the ascended you. We ask to speak from that and to hear from that today, that we may know clearly the next step we should take on this wonderful journey from the ego child's mind self to the higher self, where we see what we're supposed to see. We thank you so much, and we say this prayer in your name and in the name of the Ascended Masters, our love-centered guides and friends, and in the name of everyone who's listening here. Dear God, we say we know nothing, for it's the you through us and through all things that know everything. And we're listening to that part of us. Thank you so much, and so it is. All right, well, hello, Kat. Good morning to you too, darling. Here we go with our talk today. You know, as I set out to do this radio show today, I actually wondered, and I often have this thought, if all generations don't feel the way I do. Now, that's not an egotistical thing to say. It's just at a certain age, we've seen so many changes in the world, all of us, since the time we were born, that we have, I don't know what I should say here, a lot of opinions about all these things, I guess I want to say. A lot of attitudes about all these things, because there are just so many of them. By the way, I do apologize about my dog. What happened today is a neighbor who I'm very, very fond of, but who didn't know what I do. We're just getting to know him. Rang the bell today, and he and my husband are standing outside talking, and the dog wants to be there, only he can't be. So anyway, going back to this, technology certainly is a hot topic. It rains. We can heal people faster than ever. We can decimate people faster than ever. We don't have to talk to each other We don't have to talk to each other to communicate with each other anymore, and our voices can be heard all over the world. I mean, what a world this is. But if all this and more is true about technology and about information, because we are glutted with information, you will have to admit at this time, what does all this mean to us as people who are trying to live a conscious life and be closer to God? And by the way, closer to each other. Hello, Jim. How are you, darling? And hello, Cecilia. This is just a lovely thing. Hello, hello, hello. By the way, for those of you who are listening on Blog Talk Radio, and I see that Jay's already calling in. He suggested this topic. I'm looking forward to hearing what he's got to say. I want you all to know that a lot of times when I acknowledge people, it's because you're on Facebook Live, that I'm saying hello to friends and friends I haven't met yet. So I think that pleases me very much. You're listening. Thank you. All right. I'm going to get through a little next part just to put us all on the same page. And then I want to go to Jay because, as I said, he suggested this topic, and I think it's an important thing to hear what he has to say. I want to say that if you are new to me, I ask you to be very open to my language. I use the word God frequently. It's a good word to me, but it doesn't mean the old man on the throne. And I'm not talking about this in any Judeo-Christian sense. This is an all-denomination program, not a non-denominational program. But God to me, and I don't ask you to accept where I'm coming from. This is just where I'm coming from. I have to put it on the table. God is a God of energy to me. After all, the Bible reports that God said, I am that I am. God did not say, I am who I am. The interesting thing is I feel like that all of us, you see, are comprised of two parts. We're comprised of the ego and the ego child's mind, and we're comprised of the highest self. That's the God self. So that's the part of God that is the who. It is you, my dears. You are the who. And I think that in consciousness and in consciousness studies and what we're doing, we're trying to open our understanding to go from the ego child's mind, the part of us that thinks and reacts and behaves like a child. All these issues were formed before we were 8 years old. There's a school of psychology now that says that they were formed before we were 7 years old. My. Okay, so we have that and we have the higher self. And we're in one or the other, and sometimes we're in both, and that's when we are conflicted, you know? Our ego child's mind wants one thing, our highest self is calling us to another thing. Okay, that's the conflict that we often feel. Now, whether we are in the egoic child's mind or whether we're in the highest self, and how we're seeing the world through one of those filters or both, is according to, hi darling, I'm so glad to see Lisa online, is according to our perceptions of God and of circumstances. And you see, in the ego child's mind, we think God, if we believe in God at all, was there in the good times and not in the bad times. That's how we perceive God. We perceive God, we hear all the televangelists on television as children, and we say, well, God can fix everything, but he didn't fix our families. He didn't fix what was wrong. We didn't win we didn't become the cheerleaders. We didn't become this or that, whatever we wanted, you see? So we have these perceptions about God, terribly unconscious most of the time. But it is time for us to open up to the energy that is there, because here is the thing. You can't have my God, you can't have the church's God, and you can't have nature's God. These are all parts of the oneness of God and with all life, right? Because God is everything. But you can have and use the God that you are. Now that's what potential is about. That's what this show is about. That's what consciousness is about, is opening to that past the ego child's mind that says, I am seeing nothing around me but lack. Because the ego child's mind is the lower frequencies of God, and it believes in the lack of everything. And the higher frequencies of God sees the fullness and the abundance of this world. And our journey to consciousness is going from one mindset, one perspective, the fear-based perspective that the ego child's mind, to the broader perspective, the higher perspective of the ascended mind, the mind of God, which is in you. Now, just that, putting us on the same page, before we start talking about technology and where our lives fit into technology and where technology fits into us as conscious individuals. But I'd like to go to Jay first. Let's hear what he has to say, shall we? Here we go. Well, I hope it works better than it did last week. Hi, Jay. You there?
Morning, Martha. How's it going?
Good
invite to the show.
Yeah. Good morning, sir. I'm glad to talk to you. How have you been? I want to tell everybody that I tried to get Jay online last time. I am sometimes in regions that have very slow speeds, and I could just never do it. I punched all the right buttons, I swear, because technology is not my forte. I did punch all the right buttons, but darling, I apologize again on the air to you that I could never get you on. How are you?
Yeah, thanks. Hey, I'm fine. This is a great topic for the show. I was talking to you about this, and thanks for putting it on a show topic for today.
Yes, I gave you credit for it, because I love to hear, by the way, from listeners who say, why don't you talk about this? Why don't you talk about that? If there's anything on your mind, for God's sake, get on that website and email me or call me and let me know what you want to talk about. But this was Jay's subject today, and I talked to him on the phone. Jay's a friend of mine. And I called him in Canada after the show, and I couldn't get him on, and I apologized. And he said, why don't you do a show on this? We had a good conversation, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, we had a great conversation.
Well, Jay, why did you suggest this topic? I'd like to bring everybody on board from some of the things that you said and what we were talking about, and then I'm going to go into the rest of the show after we talk to you, because I really do have quite a different perspective on this, a few opinions, and a great story that happened to me this week about this very thing we're talking about. So tell us about why you suggested this and what's on your mind about it.
Well, a long time ago, a while back, I was actually watching a 60 Minutes show, and it was actually with Marley Safer, and he was actually talking about it, how he was interviewing a guest where the guest was actually writing a letter to Marley Safer, and Marley Safer was really quite thankful for the person writing a letter to him, because it was just a joy, because at that time where people were starting not to write letters, and because technology of that time was this emails were coming into their technology, right? So, and now we have mobile technology where things are actually done on mobile apps, and we communicate this way. And for me, I've just seen a lot of trends where we have accepted this technology as real, but it isn't. But yet it's really a false build of emotions and understanding that is lost in that communication, because it's all virtual messages. And what happens is I've seen a couple instances where people with relationships where relationships started with emails, and after a short time there was no foundation for that communications, and actually the couple broke up. And also there was another relationship where actually I know these people and I talked to them, and their relationship communication was through texting. The basis of the communication through texting. Okay. And now
that really tells you a lot, doesn't it? I mean,
it does.
It's like 6 words. That tells you a lot about another person. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like their foundation for that relationship through communications was through texting, and then what happened is that relation actually broke up too. And I'm seeing
rather not surprising
now that where it's a lot of it's sort of gets to a point where you accept the technology, and through communications with another person, all of a sudden your brain clicks on and says, what's going on here? This is not real. And then it starts questioning, okay, the messages and the relationship with me with another person too, or where you're talking to them through or texting them through apps and mobile technology, where it goes into that question period where the mind goes like, are they really telling the truth, or are they just saying the stuff in order to make you feel good? There's a whole sorts of things you can take out of words if the emotions are not present there, and emotions are not present in virtual communications or technology.
Sometimes they're
And
not.
what's happened is that,
I understand what you're
the
saying.
reason why I say that.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
The reason why you
The
say
reason why
that.
I'm saying that the reason why I'm saying that is that I'm feeling that there is a loss of humanity in our communications now.
You know, that's so interesting, Jay, because that's the very word I would use. Technology is here to help humanity, but not replace the human experience. I would use that very word that you're using, as a matter of fact. And I think I've got a pretty good story about it later on, but you're absolutely right about that. I'll also say that it is how we use technology. But it's how we use everything. I mean, we can read a good book and share the ideas with our friend and even share the book with our friend, but you could probably, if it was a heavy enough book, kill somebody with it too by bashing them over their head a million times. Every single thing in life can be used for good or for ill. It's how we use things. And what you're bringing to this discussion, as you always bring something wonderful, what you're bringing to this discussion is a consciousness about how we're using these things. And one of the things I've noticed for years, Jay, is I love painting. I love good painting. I love it. I love looking at beautiful things hanging on the wall in my home or in yours. I've noticed for years, and so I see a lot of paintings. I go and seek them out at galleries and at other things. I want the listeners, because this is in essence what you're saying to us, but in a different way, and while painting is not technology, I think the same thing translates with emails. Sometimes you can walk by 5 paintings. You don't even remember what you've seen because there's no life, there's no passion, there's no emotional experience in that painting. And then you're arrested in front of another one because there is, and there's something that touches you specifically. Now, that is what I think is so important here. I don't have a problem with your writing an email, but I very much object to somebody writing me an email that doesn't mean what they say, and it's just bull. They're not acknowledging me as a person, they're not acknowledging themselves as a person, and there's not the exchange of energy that a relationship needs to have if it's supposed to be a relationship, you see? It's interesting, I wrote a little further on, I made some notes about what to talk about today, and one of the things I was talking about, I might as well go on and say it now, is I have a client who is on one of the dating sites, right? And in the past, she has been very disappointed with everybody in past years because the moment any kind of acknowledgement is made online, she has so been working so from the ego child's mind that wants to be loved that it's already a relationship. It's not a relationship. It's not a relationship. So you can go 2 ways with this. You can actually fantasize yourself into something that isn't there. Or the email, it's just an email from a stranger, for God's sake. And it may have their essence in it and it may not. You don't have a clue about that until you go through 2 stages, which is an observation is the first stage, and then exploration and discovery is the second stage, and the third stage is down the road still yet, which is what are you going to do with all that information? Have a relationship now, or drop the thing and do something else? But in this day and age, we do odd things with technology. We are in our humanity a little mixed up about this. I have other people that are dating online, and they feel like they have to write everybody thank you notes, even if they say this isn't going to work out. You don't even have to say that on this. This is not charm school, you know. This is just the opportunity to use technology a little differently than we ever have before. Nobody seems to know how to make this work, you know. And so I'm so glad that you brought this topic up today. I'm kind of off the beam, but you always make me think of other things that I have to say. Technology is wonderful as an adjunct to our lives if we use it well. But like all consciousness and everything that we talk about on this show, there are ways to be conscious with it and ways to use it inappropriately. And I'm so glad you're bringing this topic up, because the more we use technology from our issues, like not wanting to connect, not liking people, instead of resolving these things inside of us so we can have happier and full lives, the unhappier we're going to be. And here is technology. It's not going away. It's going to get more and more appropriate to, more and more, what do I want to say? Prolific, I guess I want to say. More and more prolific. We better wake up in the use of these things and use them consciously as a part of the means to express ourselves, not in denial of ourselves. I believe, in essence, that's what you're saying. If I am wrong about that, let me know, and I'd love to hear what you think about what I just said.
Sure. I think failed technology is that right now, we can go a little bit deeper into this, that we don't have to be accountable for things. For example, we just send it out, and then we don't have to face up to the things that we actually said on it. Mm-hmm. And also, what's happened is with this technology too is that and how we express ourselves. I think right now is I think it's really kind of like designed to keep us more depressed and alone and keep us separated as a human thing. So we often think that we are, but you know, if you just go to a restaurant nowadays, what's happening is that, and you just watch people right around you. And because we're older, we can see this actually more, because we didn't grow up in that technology and accept it as real and mm-hmm. accept it now is that, you know, they have their phones right beside them, and then they're having the meal, and after meal they pick up their phones or during the meal and have their own, you know, look at their phone, type of, you know, what did they miss in the last half hour. So what did you actually miss in the last half hour? Being with that person in
That's right.
in those moments, having. Yeah. And that's what's happened is that you lose that human experience. So what's designed is to keep us more, I think more, try to make us more alone, but also want you more. And I always find that this is really interesting technology, is that it's really addictive, because what's happened is you have an experiment called random rewards, which is Pavlov's experiment.
Right.
Pavlov is actually the person who got some dogs a long time ago, and he would ring a bell, and the dogs would salivate.
Because he fed them for a while, you know. He had them associate the bell. I'm just filling in the blank. I understand you do, but people might not. Yeah. There's some youngsters listening to the show might not have heard of Pavlov, but he rang a bell, fed the dog. Rang a bell, fed the dog. So what he observed then afterwards, with Jay is saying, is that the dog salivated just when he rang the bell, when he didn't feed them, you see. It was he got them accustomed to that. And you're right, yeah, and people are kind of like Pavlov's dogs now with technology, I think, you know. I think that sometimes, Jay, as we are talking about consciousness, I think that society is not precise in its wording. And for technology, for example, what you are describing is that they are attached to their phones, not to people. This is not a connection with people. This is not a connection This is an attachment. There's different ways of attaching. We can attach, by the way, without the phones when we do not share our emotional selves and we just say we are connected and we just say we love people, because real love is a deep, abiding thing. It's generous, it's kind, it's all those things that the Bible talks about, in 1 Corinthians, believe it or not. And if we don't have those elements, if we don't have all the elements of love in place, then it's just a shallow word. It becomes an attachment. I get people that are clients of mine to look deeper, and I say, look, you're attaching, not connecting, because connecting doesn't want anything from the other person. You're busy saying, if I ever need you, I'm going to be nice to you, because if I ever need you, I want you to do something for me. That's an attachment. That's not connection, So I think that people are using these technologies to create the attachments to make them feel soothed, to make them feel not so alone. But every single time, and I'm getting to your point here, every single time you use the phone, you use the attachment, whether you have the phone there or not, instead of a real connection, you are feeding your issue that says you cannot connect, that you are not worthy, that they won't love you as who you are, and a lot more. I want you all to understand that every single time you use these old issues, you are convincing yourself of what you should not be convincing yourself of. Those ego, child's mind issues we should be lovingly confronting and getting past so a real connection can occur. And thank you, Jay. I went off the deep end again, but that truly is something that you made me think of. That we must find out beyond our issues what real connection is to another human being. The only way we do that is to stand really in our vulnerability and allow ourselves to connect one human being to another, no matter what your position, no matter how much money or lack of money you have, no matter who you are, no matter anything. And I think people very much get attachment and connection confused. How do you feel about that?
I find that you're so correct on that, because our mind can easily be swayed nowadays. And if we said the same word for a very, very long time, we'd actually get accustomed to that word. And now we do that and accept things so easily now, it seems like, that we'd have no questioning it.
That's right.
What it's doing to us. And I feel that it's really important that we actually we're supposed to be saying we're more connected than ever. Yes and no, but at the human connection level, okay, you're talking about, we're not. I don't think we are. I think we're more separated than ever before.
And I think this. Excuse me, darling. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No. I want to hear what you have to say, sweetheart. You're making me think of other things. That's why I jump in. I don't mean to interrupt. Please go. Please tell me what you're going to say next.
I think people are really wanting that human connection. I think that's the reason why that we go to the stores now or something like that. We want that human interaction to not to the point where they're actually asking questions if you want to buy something, but just that human connection. I think I think it's interesting. We have a famous coffee place here in Canada, and I think the reason why they go for the $2 coffee is I think that for the human connection, and also they like to be served. That's another topic, but just have that human connection there, right? And you see where even restaurants now are going towards kiosks where you actually order your food there and then pick it up, and you can see that human separation too, and also how we actually even communicate through mail, like. For example, I'll share some of my experience a while back. I sent out, and I told you about this in the conversation, is that I sent out some really special gifts to thank these people for some of the readings I got. And I wrote it in a letter and I sent a video and thanked them through that way. and I sent it to 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
And only one person actually sent back a thank you letter.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put them in the prayers. And for me, I was really surprised about that because it's very special and it's a lot of meaningful put into it. And I just
you gave it a lot of thought.
Mm-hmm. And I have to do that nowadays. To remind them, please send a thank you letter because they'll send it through email. I just had a teacher who I did a lot of work from last year, and I sent the teacher a thank you card and a gift to say thank you for this. And I said, please don't write me or email about this. So what the person did is actually do the same thing. I'm so busy, sorry, I wrote this email to you, but it wasn't really, I got nothing out of it. So I wrote the person a letter and said, really dismayed about, writing me or saying, thank you about this because it's really, I thought it was really disgusting. It was really impersonal about it. So the person didn't email me back, didn't write me. The person actually Facebooked a message to me saying, sorry, I can't you. I'm not going to write this letter to you, which I didn't request. But the thing is that the reason why I'm saying that I have to remind people to write letters or thank yous is that the mind cannot distinguish between what is kind of like personal and the consciousness is lost there now. You know what I'm saying? The consciousness is lost.
Well, it's certainly not lost with everybody. And that's one of the reasons we're doing a show like this is to say, please, you guys, think about this like you think about everything. I mean, we can't, I taught a class yesterday, an advanced class, and I was saying, we can't use words, we can't use technology, we can't use everything as in a thoughtless manner. You can't listen to a commercial in a thoughtless manner anymore because your body is accepting that you're going to have osteoporosis if you don't take this calcium pill. And that's ridiculous, that we have to, as conscious people, listen consciously, interact consciously. That's, by the way, where we're happiest, because then we have a whole day of not doing that, of using technology, of hiding, of thinking of nothing but ourselves, and then at nighttime we go home by ourselves and we're lonely, as you said. And that doesn't work for us anymore as conscious people. I have been guilty myself of writing emails instead of letters, but I want to tell you, I don't sit down and idly do that. I don't write things that I don't mean. I don't say things that I don't mean. Now, you all may object to it, and it's fine, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But and I've never been opinionless, guys. But the truth is, we should mean what we say. It's so funny, Jay, that you should say, if we say a word long enough, that's an old acting exercise, by the way. And I pulled it out yesterday with my class, and I said, let's choose a word that you really do attach a lot of symbolic bad feelings to. One person chose blame, the word blame. Another chose shame. Another chose disappointment. I'm trying to remember some of the others. Another chose the word obey. She didn't like the word obey. Well, there were many other words that I'm not remembering, but I said, okay, now let's say them for 20 minutes. And let's just say those words for 20 minutes. The funny thing is, I've done this exercise before, and what happens after 20 minutes is the word means nothing to you anymore. This word you've had such a trigger all your life means nothing. It's just a word. It's just nonsense. It's just a sound. And that's really all it is, you see. All words are just words. It's us that are layering them with emotional attachments, you see. All right. Well, here was the funny thing that happened yesterday. It never happened in any of my other classes, but it was wonderful. A couple of people, I think it was the one that was saying obey and shame, and blame, got into a rhythm. And I noticed the rhythm as I was watching the class. There was a rhythm. It was a song that they were singing. It was really interesting. So all of a sudden, the whole class just lost it, including these two people. The woman that was doing blame said, I was really into blame. I was going to bring up every feeling. And when I laughed, everything went away. It was just a word. So what was so wonderful was, you can do the exercise for 20 minutes. And if you don't have anybody to do this with, by all means do. But laughter broke it up too. Laughter absolutely broke all the patterns around that word. So you're absolutely right. I just wanted to say that, Jay. I'm always surprised how you guys that are listening and interacting with me sometimes say the very things I'm doing. And here Jay has done this 2 or 3 times in this conversation, and it is so fun. Now I want to share something that Lisa said. As she said, person-to-person communication is very important. We need to help each other keep our interactions face-to-face, personal, share our energy. It's one of the best parts of being human on this earth. And that is such a lovely thing to say, and I agree with you. We're all busy from time to time. We all very busy. But the moment we lose each other, we're going to feel lost, and rightly so. So I think it is really important to communicate the way we are asking you to communicate. Mean the words that we say. We should mean the words we say. And we should, in consciousness studies, become more and more precise with our wording, like the precision of, is it an attachment or a real communication? And what is your intention here? I want to say one other quick thing. Jay, I know you didn't mean this at all, because you're a very conscious man. About a year, maybe 2 years ago, I had a client who does not get along with his son. And all communication has, before he came to me, just stopped between these two individuals, father and son. And I challenged the dad, and I said, well, why are you, pardon me, nose running, why are you not sending an email, or because they're in different countries, sending an email to your son? Why are you not communicating with son? And he says, because I don't get anything back. What? You're either a loving father and you try to communicate one way or another, or you're not. It's about the person. It's not about what the other person does. You see? I think that when we are in the ego child's mind, we get so disappointed in people. We want them to respond a certain way. We expect them to respond in a certain way, particularly when we've given some effort to what we have written or the gift we sent or something like that. And when we don't get an acknowledgement because of that expectation, we get very hurt. But the whole point is not to have the expectation, to just be loving and willing to not have a response. And that's the higher road. I wanted to put that on the table for everyone too. It's very hard to do. It is. I agree. Nevertheless, if we're talking about going from the ego child's mind to consciousness, that's the way you should be. I was talking to my class yesterday, and they were asking me about personal relationships and marriage, and I'm very open about my experience with Michael. And I said, I think it's really important when you're looking around and you're trying to find somebody, you want to have two contributors. You don't want to have a contributor and a taker. That's imbalanced already. You want to have two contributors, people that want to give for the right reasons, not because they want an expectation back or they're expecting something or they want to be loved more. That's all needy child's mind stuff, and by God, it's going to come out in the relationship at some point, and it's not going to be pretty. So we really need two people to clean their acts up within themselves and then contribute to each other that way. That's a lovely, lovely thing. I have the sweetest husband. I really do. And there are just times he surprises me. And I have a lot of stories to tell today, and I'll eventually do it. And thank you, 312, for holding on. I'm coming to you in just a minute. There's another call. But here's a sweet story about a contributor, because Michael's very much a contributor. So we had to buy a new car because my 18-year-old car, I run cars into the ground, died. A terrible death. So we bought a new car. It's my car. I drove it home yesterday. And he had his car in the driveway in rather a narrow place. And I was so panicked about this new car. I ran into the grass, right? And I damaged the sprinkler that was right there. We have some sort of sprinkler system we spent some money for last year because it gets very hot in Atlanta in the summer times, and we can't grow grass to save our lives. So, Michael tapped on the window and he said, "You ran over the sprinkler system." And I thought it was just, the little thing was just going to go, oh, right? No, I looked behind me. There's a 6-foot column of water. There is a geyser in the air. I felt horrible. And he got me out of the car and he said, "Oh, honey, at least you didn't hit the car." I was so grateful for that, baby, at least you didn't hit the car. So it's very nice to find a contributor. We're off technology right now, but I got to tell you, find a contributor, okay? Jay, thank you so much, my love, for calling in today and for suggesting the show. We're going to get back to technology in just a second, but I just had to share that because, man, it's just, I'm a terrible driver. I really am. I hope this car will be all right.
Say prayers to the car.
That's right. Darling, thank you so much for all you say in these shows. Do you have any parting words for people?
I think both, sending cards to friends once in a while that you know, mm-hmm. I think they really appreciate it. Yep. And I think that's really voluntary on anyone's part, so I'm taking the time to do that. Because mm-hmm. when they actually see their writing sent sort of like a text message, I think they really appreciate it because they're so bombarded with virtual or computerized messages that our brain is, just wanting some of that human connection again. So just just buy some thank you letters or something sort of that says, hey, see how you're doing. Decided to write you this time instead of emailing you and just see how things are going. And I think that we get appreciation from those people mm-hmm. That read your letters. Yeah.
I'll even take it a step further. I think I got a love note last week from a friend of mine. It was just a note. It was a love note. It was just a dear friend of mine taking the time to write what I meant to her. It meant the world. Yeah. And so, I say, I got an email, but it was most sincere. It was an email. I don't much care how it comes myself. I just want truth. And it was unexpected. I hadn't done anything to deserve this at all. It was just sweet to be remembered that way. And darling, thank you so much for sharing everything you did today. Okay?
You're welcome. Thanks for letting me be part of the show and expressing myself.
No, you are very articulate, and you always have something so important to say. I will say, as far as I'm concerned, Jay, I see the world going in two directions. I see people very unconscious in this world, and I see people very conscious in this world. We can't change everybody. We can just do what we do. And some people will respond to it because they know what it is, and some people won't. I don't mean this in any kind of deprecating way. Please do not take it as that. I mean this as a cute little cutism going by, okay? But I had I look at that expression, do not cast pearls before swine. I think it's in the Bible. And and I wrote in Teacup Prophecies, it's nothing against pigs, and that's what the deprecating thing that you could take. I don't mean that in any deprecating way. It isn't anything against pigs. It's just they can't appreciate fine jewelry. So, for heaven's sakes, it's fine. You sent out fine jewelry, and that's fine. It doesn't matter whether they recognized it as fine jewelry or not. And it's certainly not pigs, but it's just a funny little thing to say. Okay, kid, I love you. You take care of yourself. Thank you so much for calling, love, okay?
Love you too. Thank you much. Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye. We're going to go right now to a 312 exchange. And let's talk to this person. Hi. To whom am I speaking? This is Martha.
Oh, hi, Martha. This is Karen. Good morning.
Hello, Karen. I've talked to you before. Is this Karen or Sharon?
Karen.
Karen. Yes, I've talked to you before. Have I not?
Oh, yes.
Yes,
definitely.
I recognize you.
Yeah.
How are you?
Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm doing good. I start a new project tomorrow, work.
Mm-hmm.
I had that project for about a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited about that. And, getting some more funds in and just kind of changing things up, the energy, everything. I've been working with a lot of rocks and stones and herbs and just kind of really trying to get the momentum going for the new year.
Well, I think that's a lovely thing. I believe thoroughly in reinvention. I think reinvention is great. I hear people say, I never want to move again for all sorts of ways, emotionally or physically or anything else. It's like, why? I think reinvention is just the greatest thing in the world. We always want to change and grow and deepen and find out what else is out there that might match us. So I'm glad to hear you say that. That's very healthy.
Oh, yes. Yes, I just, my goal is to find a full-time job. With a great benefit package and everything, but I know I have to change my thoughts. I have to change it up.
Yes.
And once I get some more money, change my hair, just really do the whole change. You are right with reinvention.
I think that's great. I think that we have to always make sure that the outer presentation matches the inner. I've thought that for years as I have gone about my own life. There have been times that I go, I just look messy.
Yes.
You just look in the mirror and go, I just look messy. I got to do something. That was one of the reasons I cut my hair, because when I hit menopause, it started coming out frizzy and weird. So, one of the reasons that I cut it all off was, oh my gosh, it's frizzy and weird. I can't look like this. To me, it just didn't match who I was. So I'm not frizzy and weird. You might think so, but I'm really not. So, darling, I certainly encourage that. Good for you. Now, I do feel like there's something coming up for you that's full-time. It's not going to show up for a little while, but it's in this year.
Oh, I have been applying for government jobs, and I'm wondering maybe if it's that, because that application has been received and reviewed for the longest time.
Yeah, it feels like that. And it's not you, by the way. It's whatever this department is. They're kind of a mess in terms of all over the place, have too much to do, too few workers, that kind of thing. So, it certainly isn't you. It might be that, or it may be something else. I'm not sure. It's coming up in a few months. But I think there's going to be something there for you, absolutely, that you'll enjoy doing, and that will have a package to it so that you can get good health care.
Oh, God.
Do you have any other questions?
Yes. I'm just wondering what you see for romance for 2018.
For what, darling?
Romance.
Romance for 2018 for you, Karen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't see a whole lot. I think you can date, but in terms of finding and choosing a good one, that's not going to be this year. So I want you to be careful with who you date. It seems to me that you've got some things concerning men. You've taken some of the father's issues and generalized them to men in general. And I need for you to confront those ideas. I don't know what they are. I think you they're telling me that you sacrifice too much. You lose you when you find somebody who cares about you. And that's just never going to bring you a happy relationship. It's not the way two mature people interact, where they can both contribute, and you're always the one that's contributing, and they sit back. That's what your former relationships have been. So this is, you can't do this. I don't even know who, you and I have talked once or twice on the phone. I recognize your name. I don't know about your life, but that's what they're saying you do. You're not going to have a happy relationship that way. So you're going to keep bringing in the same man this year, because this year is about you coming into relationship with you, having a sense of self, not giving yourself away, having that mature thing, getting rid of those father's issues, so you can see other people's issues very clearly, and you don't choose one of those, and you choose a person that is a mature, healed child, fabulous guy that's going to come in, and you all are both contributing, and it's an equal, marvelous thing. That's what you've got to create, that you cannot create right now because you give yourself away. So that's what they want you to know.
I had one more question. You mentioned reinvention. I have been thinking about relocating in a couple years, or when I get older, retirement age. And I'm wondering, maybe I'm in Chicago. The winters are horrible. Do you see me going somewhere else?
This is like, I certainly think you could, but here's the thing. When you ask me a question like that, Spirit comes back with a sentence that they always say, which is, do you want to go someplace else? Because what they're wanting you to know is it is your choice. It is your choice. Now, with that said, I wouldn't just pick up and move, you see. You want to do this in a very deliberate manner. Excuse me for telling you a personal story, but this has everything to do with everything. I really do. I am based in Atlanta. I've never particularly, forgive me, all the powers that listen to the show, I've not particularly liked Atlanta. It's it has a lot of opportunities, easy city to live in, it has a lot of virtues, but I'm just not a city person. So I've moved kind of out to the suburbs, and I bought a house that I very much liked, and I've been thinking about moving my whole life. I'm kind of like the George Bailey, in It's a Wonderful Life, always wanted to get out of his little town, and always thought, so every place I've ever gone in this country or in the world, I've gotten off the plane and I say, is this home? And the answer is no. 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 Now here's the interesting thing. At one point, years ago, I realized the reason I was getting no everywhere was because it was yes anywhere I wanted to go, that it was my free will to do so. Now, within that, I went with God and I found a home I really liked here. I didn't find a home I really liked. Nothing else particularly spoke to me. I always said I wanted to go to a place where the land rose up to meet me, right? Very poetic, right? The land's not going to do that. Here's the interesting thing. Had I not stayed here, my Austrian husband could not have found me, because we lost touch for about 25 years, maybe more. I knew him when we were 20 years old. His girlfriend, my best friend, passed away. He and I became friends during that period of time. He married someone else through the years. I married someone else through the years. I was divorced. His wife died. And almost 7 years ago now, hard to believe that long, here's what he did. Here we are back to technology. He found me on, he didn't know my married name, but he had always kept, and his wife had kept, because I knew her as well, my old parents' address. He, because he's technological, got online, saw who bought that house and who sold it, which was a Martha Burgess at the time. Mm-hmm. And he then found Martha Burgess online on LinkedIn. Wow. He wrote me from his business, "Is this my Martha Edens that is now Martha Burgess? I am trying to find you." And I wrote back and said, "Absolutely, here I am. I've been trying to find you too," because I even cried in the shower the whole month of April that I was so cavalier with my friendships and didn't keep them up. You know, it was very hard back then, Karen. We were talking about this yesterday to a friend of ours. We had to write on onion skin. Now, those of you that are young don't understand what we used to go through. And then we would write on onion skin because it was very expensive to mail an international letter. We would write, it was very hard to read. You could see you couldn't write on the second side of it. We'd send it off. 8 weeks later, he would get that and respond to me. And you know what? It was just awful. I couldn't remember what I said in these letters. He couldn't remember what he said in these letters. It's just so frustrating. You know, I fully attribute the man I married, Michael, my current dear and one and only, to the technology, because he found me because he traced down the sale of the house. He found me on LinkedIn. Once we found each other, he came over here immediately, like within 10 days. We totally connected. We continued the romance on Skype, back and forth. We traveled to each other when we could. And sure enough, you know, we ended up together because we had that link. If we were still waiting 8 weeks for a letter, I'm not sure we could have done what we did. So, so darling, everything is possible, but the one thing that I want you to know that has to do with you is, you know, here I do this for a living, and let me tell you, I worked on myself the whole time until he appeared, and I'm still working on myself. So you've got to get clear to bring in what you want. It's just the way. Thank you, Celine. Celine just said she loved the story. Thank you, darling. Listen, against all odds and across the miles, we made this work. There is nothing. He was 6,000 miles away from me. And 25, 28, 30 years that we hadn't talked. But there were links always. I loved him my whole life. Not romantically, but certainly when he came back into my life, I knew immediately he did the same thing. He said he thought of me every time his car rolled over to a certain mileage with a lot of zeros, because I had been in the car, in his new car, when that happened. Barbara, my dear friend that died, his girlfriend, my best friend, gave me a nail file, a Diamond Deb nail file. I remember that. I don't think they make them anymore. And she gave it to me, and she said, "This is made of diamond chips, and you will never need another nail file." I remember her words, and I said, "Barbara, thank you so much." And I'm still using it to this day. Well, every time I thought of Barbara, I thought of Michael. Kept him alive. He kept me alive with some little sillinesses like that too. And eventually the energies coalesced when the time was right. And the odd thing is, we had grown together and grown to appreciate and love the same things and be a person that is different enough to be interesting, but alike enough to make this work well. So I want to say, darling, go work on yourself. If you are wondering how to do that, for God's sake, get on my website, and that website is MarthaBurgessNovak.net, And there I've got, you can find me on that website. I've got some marvelous facilitator healers that can help you address this next year and get you where you go. And they work remotely. We all work remotely as well as in person. So for heaven's sakes, dear, get to work and you can have what you want, but you got to get all those dad issues out of the way. Okay?
Okay, sounds good. I will do.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen. I'm so glad you called. Bye-bye. Okay, let's go back to talking about this. I want to put on the table this in different words because I think Jay really was bringing this up. Nothing comes before people. You can't let anything come before people, not your texts, not your phone, not your emails, not the work you do, the emotions you feel, because emotions often lie because they're coming from the egoic child's mind if we haven't worked on ourselves, right? So we have to realize that nothing comes before people. I will say that most of the time your blessings, your real blessings in life, come through people. Sometimes you don't expect them. In fact, most of the time you don't expect them, because what you need to address are your expectations, because you know what expectations are? You're trying to control your life. You see? We say, I'm not going to go through this dark tunnel until I know how long it is and what's on the other side and what's in there. All right, well, God's in there. And you need to let go of all these old egoic child's mind devices, part of controlling everything. You want a guarantee of what it's going to look like, and the guarantee itself is a limitation. You can't know how glorious what is in that tunnel is for you until you go in. But you're saying, I want to know everything. And I want that guarantee signed by God that I'm not going to be hurt. And the only thing that hurts you is your belief in that and the limitations that you're putting on yourself from your past and from the ego child's mind brain. And every single time you use it, you are convincing yourself that the world's a scary place and that you have to protect yourself in these old ways. Every single time you use it. So the very act of indulging in these issues and being compelled to use them over and over again actually betrays what you want. I hope you understand what I'm saying. You really don't want to keep these things. Okay. Nothing comes before people. I want to tell you a story. I hope you enjoy this story. Because I just thought it was pretty amazing. All right, as I said on the earlier in the show, I had to go buy a car. I do, use my cars up. My car was 18 years old before it died. All right, here we go. So I went to about 4 or 5, I think it was that many, may have been less, dealerships. One after the other. One was particularly interesting to me. Before I found the one, I want you to see how the energy of God works. So, technology played a part of this. I went through a program that sent me out to a little small town near Atlanta. And that had the kinds of car we wanted. It was a dealership. And I got an email from apparently our salesperson. And, it was a chatty email. It was all about, what she liked to do. She liked to go paddle boarding with her boyfriend on the weekend and do this and that and the other. And it was a lot about her dog. Now, I am a huge dog lover. And she sent me pictures of her dog. And all I could feel on this email was her manipulation of me. And that this was an email that was designed to have me see her as a person so she could sell me a car. She said, and at the last line, I want to know all about you, right? Well, I was curious. I wanted to see what everything was about. So I ended up calling her and making an appointment, going to her and seeing what she had. This whole dealership was cold. They weren't unnice, but I could see immediately that all she saw in me was somebody to sell a car to. She didn't see me. She didn't see who I was, you see? Now, what I'm about to tell you, I'm really going to tell you the secret of a happy marriage, the secret of being connected to people, the secret of selling. I'm going to give you all that, but I'm going to set that up because everybody loves what I have to say in terms of devices to use. But if you use them the way she does, from that ego child's mind, from not seeing a living, breathing person in front of you, it's not going to work. It's going to backfire like it did with me, right? So she was the fourth dealership, and there was something truly that I didn't like about her car anyway. It had black interior, and while that is cool, I guess I'm at the age where I don't have to be cool anymore. I want to be cool in the summertime, right? That's the kind of cool I want. So I didn't want a black interior. Okay, so my husband and I, it's the end of the day, we're kind of tired and grouchy. I have even missed lunch, which probably wasn't a good thing, but my time was just, we were just running the whole day trying to get all this in. So we decided to stop by one last dealership near the house, right around the corner. And I thought, well, this is the big city dealership. They're going to really try to take advantage of us. Probably, I don't know whether it's going to work or not. Drove into this dealership. This was 2 minutes before their closing time, which we did not realize. And the salesman, Precious, said, sweeties, it doesn't matter. Come on in, talk to me, tell me what you want. I'm here for as long as you need me. Let's just talk. Let me get to know who you are, and let me see if I can find the right vehicle for you. I said, I already know what the right vehicle is. This is what we're looking for. And he got online and he looked. And meanwhile, while he was online and looking at what they had in inventory, I happened to look down at his desk, and there is a Conscious Life Journal. That's the magazine I write for. I'm a columnist for that. Right? And I'm a managing editor for that. I said, you have this magazine. He said, I love that magazine. Love it. My girlfriend and I read it cover to cover every time it comes out. I said, well, here I am in this. He said, no kidding, that's fabulous. And it goes back to general manager comes in, introduces himself. I said, look at this, Conscious Life. He said, well, you're going to have to sign that for us. And then when the salesman gets up to go get the car, because they actually have the car we want, and I told him at this point, I said, look, I am through with negotiating. Here it was the lowest price that we could get on a car like this, and you got to do better than that, right? When I'm tired, I'm pretty no nonsense. General manager comes in. He didn't come in to try to convince me of anything or to say no or anything. He comes in to say, oh, you're with the Conscious Life Journal. Well, interesting. Here's how we do business here. Here's what I believe about philosophy. Here's what I think about God. Here's what I think about spirituality. Here's what I think about. It gets me up in the morning. I love trying to match things. I feel very spiritual about everything that everything that we do here. We hire people that feel the same way we do in every department. It was all about philosophy. It was all about me. Well, how did you get into this? What do you do? Oh, that's so cool. Right? So the salesman pulls the car up. We go for a little ride. I'm so tired I cannot drive. I would run over every sprinkler in the neighborhood, so my husband drove. I'm in the back seat. It's a new car. We've been looking at used cars. I said, yeah, well, how much is it? He said, don't worry, we matched your price point. It's fine. No big deal. So I said in the littlest, most humble and grateful voice from the back seat in the night. It's night now, right? He hears the little voice saying, "We'll take it." And my husband and I, this was the interesting thing to us. My husband and I absolutely saw why none of the other dealerships worked. You see, what you're trying to find, whether you're trying to find a loving match like Karen, or whether you're just finding good friends or good associates or anything else, it's got to be an energetic match. It's not going to work if it's not an energetic match. Oh, you may say, I'm not going to buy that car because it has a black interior. But the truth is, you're not going to buy that car because nobody cares about you in that dealership. All you are is money. This dealership said, oh, you've got to come and have a cup of coffee with us. We got to sit down. We got to hear more about this. What? All right. That's what I'm wanting you all to know. So, I want you to realize here, I'm going to skip over to what I was going to tell you. I want you to realize here, there is a bottom line thing that creates successful experiences. Whether you're selling a car, whether you're selling anything, whether you are having a happy marriage, whether you're trying to talk to an associate or anything else, there are 3 criteria for this, none of which you can fake. None of which you can fake. All right, here are the 3 criteria. You have to sincerely care about another person. Number 2, if you sincerely care about the other person, you're going to make the conversation, the interaction, pleasurable. And number 3, if you really do care about this person, you care about trying to make their lives easier and better. Okay? Now, what was really interesting about this car dealership, and this was really amazing, is everything was easy. Everything was easy. From the loan officer to the this to the that. It was all easy. Oh, we got it. Oh, yeah, we'll match your price points. That's fine. Really. It was easy, it was pleasurable, and they cared about people. Now, I have another story to tell you if we have enough time. Here's the other story. So, years ago, several years ago, we were looking at moving our house. Okay, so Michael thought it would be nice to have a house on the lake. We went down south of here, and we saw something in a magazine, those little real estate magazines they pull out. We saw something in a magazine. It might be fun to look at this house. We were kind of half-hearted about everything anyway, but, we wanted to see what things went for and what houses really look like in this region. So, I wasn't paying particular attention. Now, I coached an awful lot of real estate agents. Coached a lot of car dealerships, too. These people that I bought the car from, by the way, don't need me. I'm going to tell you right that now. They were doing everything that I would have told them to do. But this real estate agency, I didn't realize which agency it was. They have a philosophy that absolutely doesn't match us. I know it. You know what their philosophy is? Their philosophy is stress you out, make you paint, make all the changes, do everything so they can sell the house really fast because they don't care about you and they don't care about the seller or the buyer. All they want to do is sell fast, go on to the next house. That's their philosophy. They're not going to tell you that, but that's their philosophy. There's nothing wrong with that philosophy. It just so doesn't match mine, where if I were a real estate agent, and the real estate agents I care about do these 3 things. You care about somebody. You make the interaction a pleasurable, honest, and genuine experience. And you make it easy for them, right? Okay. So, telling you this story. So I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention. When I saw where we were, what my husband had driven into, I went, okay, let's look at this. So she took us out to a home. It was a beautiful home. It was on a peninsula. Oh my God, lake, beautiful. Oh, gorgeous. It was unbelievably cheap. Now, I've lived on lakes before. So I noticed over on the left side a sandbar. A sandbar. I even said to my husband, go down to the dock and take a sounding off the dock. And I didn't tell him what I was doing. And he did, right? It was like 2 feet. 2 feet. So I said to her, there's a sandbar over there. And on this side of that dock, the whole thing isn't very deep, but it's 2 feet. You've got a stream coming in here, and this is going to be swamp pretty soon. In another 5 years, it's all going to be swamp. She lied to me. She said, absolutely not. There is no stream coming in here. Absolutely not. This is beautiful. It's going to be like it is forever. Now, she just spent the afternoon saying, seriously, when she found out what I did for a living, she said, I'm so unhappy. I can't understand why I'm unhappy. I make a lot of money. I have a great husband. I have children. I have a lovely house. I'm just unhappy all the time. And she just poured out her heart, right? So, Michael was interested in this house. I said, babe, no. Let's go back home. We got on the technology. And we saw from Google Maps, there was not just one stream coming in right there by that house, but 2. That house was going to break somebody's heart. And so I wrote her and I said, with all due respect, either you are a very poor agent because you didn't check this out, or you lied to us. Now, she, and I was nice about this, really, I was very nice about this. I don't know whether I used those same words. I probably did, but I don't know. But she wrote back the nastiest email defending herself and saying I was not the kind of person she wanted to work with. And she wonders why she's unhappy. Can you see the conflict within her? We're all unhappy when we are not energetically in our match. Things can't happen if we're not energetically in our match for our good. Actually, this is for her good. Her ego child's mind and her highest self are in conflict. She is not being integrous. You're not going to be happy if you're not. You see? Okay. Quite a difference in the philosophy of that company and other companies that I work with, where I teach people these 3 principles and more, that the car dealership had, you see? Car dealership. Wow. Now, technology is something to use, but it isn't to be used at the expense of our humanity, our humanness. And sometimes we do lose sight of this, and we can't, or as Jay implies, we're going to be lost as a species because we can't lose our humanity. I am always thrilled to talk like this with you all. The radio reaches far more people than, and Facebook Live still yet more, than I can reach on my own, right? I'm thrilled that we have the technology we do, that we are doing what we're doing. You guys want to know more. You people are going to change the world. You are. We must use technology as part of a loving, big old whole. Life is about loving and being loved and giving it away and losing sometimes and making mistakes and failing and coming out ahead and counting our blessings and opening to more and more. That's a whole life. That's a passion-filled life. That's a life you're going to be happy in, even if you have those moments of heartbreak or anything else. They're there to take you to something larger where you finally have done enough work that you open to the fact that the universe is entirely and magnificently supporting you. And it has all along. But our minds have played tricks on us. We have had expectations and wanted to control things that have been out of our control. And instead of going with, we block our cooperation and we make ourselves enormously resistant and unhappy. Ladies and gentlemen, life just doesn't have to be that way. There's a happy life right here for you, and it's already right there programmed into you. All the abundance and consciousness and joy, all the love, everything. The whole point is to get beyond the lies we tell ourselves in the myths of our childhood and be who we really are. And that truly is the change we want to see in the world. Thank you so much for listening to these shows. It means the world to me that you do. When I hear from you, I'm thrilled. Here on Facebook Live, for those of you that do write me and call in frequently, it means a lot. And I hope that we are talking about things that are absolutely pertinent to your magnificent life, because it is that. And if you don't think it is, I will hold that for you until you do. Now you can reach me through the website. Again, it is www.marthaburgess, B-U-R-G-E-S-S, Novak, N-O-V-A-K, .net. I'm a .net, not a .com. Thank you, Lisa. That's so sweet of you to say. And you can reach me through that. You can write me, and if you have shows to suggest, I am just delighted to talk about anything you all want to talk about on the air. I'll be here every Sunday at 10 a.m., and if you would like to be put on our mailing list, by all means, please communicate with me so we can do that. There are a lot of resources on the website for you. I have written a book on consciousness and on manifestation and surrender, those three things that I think are really essential for our lives. And then there's another little book that's a very friendly book that is a wonderful introduction and will go into the immediate stages of your process as well. It's a little oracle. It's called the Teacup Prophecies, and you can open it up and see what that quote means to you today. It's quite remarkable, so it usually means something. So it's a nice, easy way to get some very conscious thought to meditate on and to see working or not working, by the way, in your lives. When it doesn't work, it doesn't mean anything about you. It just means it's not working. And that's a wonderful thing for you to learn from and see what you're doing that's blocking the experience of you as the ascended God. That's all it is, because that's who you are. Thank you so much for listening. Let's do a prayer to let all this go and to be in the energy of a deeper place that we may have better lives. Dear God, who is all there is, you who are all we are and everything is in the world. We thank you so much for these dear listeners today, for being with us as we've done this. We open ourselves now to whatever healing there is for us that comes through our consciousness, that we may make better actual choices instead of reacting to things from our past. Help us really, truly awaken to the fact that your voice, your blessings come through people. They come through us to others and come through us to ourselves. And we are listening now, not expecting, not reacting, not pushing ourselves away, but really listening and accepting and saying thank you inside to these marvelous, marvelous suggestions you have for us. Nothing is ever forced. You are giving us free will, which is the choice to be an ego and resist and fight and be sad and lonely. Or the choice, the true choice to be something else and to do something else. Open us to these things, dear God, for you are right there with us, soothing us, comforting us, and giving us courage. This is you, and this is who we are as you. Thank you so much, dear God, for all of this and for these dear listeners. We say this prayer in your name, in the name of the Ascended Masters, our loves and guides and friends, and in the name of each and every person listening to the show, with special thanks to Jay, who suggested this today. It's always nice to hear from him. Thank you so much for all of this, dear God. We now surrender anything that's in our way of doing what we think we must as the highest self and as the next step. Thank you. And so it is. Amen. Thank you for listening. We'll be here next week. I love you all. Go out there and do whatever you want, but realize what you're doing and try to have an actual knowledge of whether you're in that lower self or in that higher self, and get there. It's just a change of mind. Thank you.